We're coming up to that time of year again where resolutions will be made and lives will be changed for a week until you've been off those improvements and those changes you wanted to make and slip back into old habits. But there's a reason why this is so common. If you want to make meaningful change, it has to be approached in a particular way if you want it to stick around for the long run. You see, it's not just around breaking those ideas down into daily habits, it's around making those daily habits as easy or as difficult as possible to do, depending on your goals. So let me share a few of the small habits that I have that have changed my life for the better and why they work. Welcome back to Plena Vida. As always, I am Tom, and I have set numerous goals over the years with the aim of improving my health. And as I've gotten older, I've become a lot more intentional around making those changes stick. Now, of course, I set these goals with the best intentions, but paid little attention as to the how behind those daily practices that I set in order to achieve them. As a result, many of these former goals were quite difficult to achieve, but right now I feel very confident I'll achieve the goals I set myself. Let me share how. Before I dive into the changes that I've made, I wanted to mention why they work. These changes are not the same as the goals themselves. Once I break those goals down into daily practices, I know what I need to do consistently in order to get to that end result. The value of compounding small daily efforts is huge over the long run. And so the question becomes, if I know I have to do this every single day, how do I make it as easy as possible to make sure that I don't skip a beat? The answer lies in the question, making these daily habits as easy as possible to complete, often with the aid of visual cues. Now, these goals usually tie to something intrinsically quite valuable. And so the end result is going to be something very personal that we desire. And what I've found is that the actual practice of these daily habits in order to achieve those goals is not the hard part. Starting them is. And therefore, we're going to want to change our environments and the tools around us to make that habit as easy as possible to start, and then we can see it through with ease. By breaking down some of the habitual changes that I have made, I'm hoping you can get a better idea of what I'm on about. Charge my phone outside my room. Now, this is a change I made a few years ago because I used to keep getting up, turning off my alarm, and then rolling over and scrolling on my phone to start the day. And I want to start each day strong, and I know that that first half an hour is crucial for starting to build that momentum. And starting my day scrolling is a huge momentum killer. And so what's the easiest way to stop myself scrolling on that phone? By removing the phone entirely. Now I actually have to get up to use it, and so by removing that visual cue, I've changed my behavior for the better. Starting my day with a cold shower. My old boss used to say, eat the frog, and this is in reference to a Mark Twain quote that said, if it's your job to eat a frog, best do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs, it's best to eat the biggest one first. The cold shower is my frog. It's not necessarily something I want to do, but I know that if I find a way to wriggle out of something I don't want to do first thing in the morning, that I will continue to do so for the rest of the day. And my day is filled with stuff that I don't necessarily want to do, but I know I have to in order to achieve my goals. And therefore, by eating that frog, I've got that mental cue to remind myself that I can do hard things whenever I need that push. My yoga mat is always unfurled. Now, this one is very, very simple. I like to stretch to start the day, and I like to stretch to end the day. I know that it warms my body up in the morning, gets me ready for the day, and relaxes me at night so I sleep a lot easier. And if that yoga mat is rolled up in the corner of the room, it's a lot easier for me to skip those stretches. It's a visual cue, it's very easy to remember, and it means I don't forget it. I always prep for the morning ahead. And this one goes back to when I was in school, my parents encouraged me to lay out my uniform, get my bag prepped for the next day, and I'm very glad they got this into me at such an early age. No longer am I worried about forgetting my PE kit, but I know that if I've got certain things to do the following day, then it's best to eliminate the need to sort this in the morning when I'm feeling groggy and still waking up. I'm a lot sharper the night before, and so I can trust I know what I'm doing. All I need to do the morning after is pick up my bag and get out of the door. And so I've made it as easy as possible to succeed that following day. My phone is silent. It's very easy for me to get distracted. This is something I'm working on, but one of the revelations I've had over the last few years is that nothing that I do or am involved with is life or death. If someone needs me urgently, of course I will always pick up a call, and this is the only notification that feeds through to my watch and will buzz me if I'm needed. But the vast majority of the time, what's happening on my phone doesn't need to interrupt what I'm doing. What happens is the momentum that I build throughout the day to do these tasks is wasted, and I deviate from the task at hand. And that task is very important, which is why I've scheduled time to do it. So 99.99% of the time, that notification, that message can wait an hour or two to be replied to. And when it comes to the notifications I do get, it's just WhatsApp. Nothing that's happening on Instagram or any other app is that important it needs to interrupt me. And so this turns that visual cue on its head. By removing that notification, I get less tempted to check my phone and less tempted to deviate from what I'm doing. I have timers on my apps. I don't have the best self-control when it comes to social media, and given the opportunity, I would just doom scroll on Instagram or YouTube Reels for pretty much the entire day. And so by putting those times on my apps, number one, I'm more conscious of the time I'm actually spending on social media, and number two, I'm less incentivized and less tempted to go on once that timer has elapsed. I've got a long-standing goal of reducing the total amount of time I spend on social media. And so by having these timers in place, I'm removing that self-control aspects that I've shown myself is quite difficult for me to exhibit. Once that timer expires, the icon turns grey, and I'm eliminating that visual cue that would normally entice me to go on the app. I don't use any screens at least an hour before bed. Now, I follow very closely the work of Dr. Matthew Walker, and so understand how valuable a tool sleep can be. One of the most common hindrances to a good night's sleep is the presence of blue light right before bed, because this will trick your circadian rhythm into thinking it's still light outside. Therefore, before I go to sleep, I place my phone on charge outside my room, and then make it as easy as possible to stay in my bedroom before I drift off. I have the pad I journal on in the same place every night, right next to my bed. I have my yoga mat already unfurled. I have a list of Japanese philosophies next to my bed that is a reminder to myself to meditate. And then finally, the book that I'm reading right on my nightstand. It's as easy as possible for me to follow that routine every single night. And so by keeping these visual cues in the same position, it's as easy as possible for me to follow this routine every single night, and therefore remove the chance that I will have blue light in my eyes before I go to sleep. I make a to-do list every single night, and then I place it in front of my alarm clock so it's the first thing I see in the morning. I used to do this on my phone, but noticed that when I was on there, I would go onto Instagram or YouTube for a little bit as my phone was already open. So right now it's a pen and paper job. And this list is in front of me for the entire day. Whether I'm at work, wherever I go, I'm constantly reminded of the things that I have to do. It's the easiest visual cue that makes it very difficult for me to forget what it is that I have to do that day. I never do a food shop on an empty stomach. I know how important the right diet is for my mood and performance throughout the day. And so by making sure that I eat something before I go shopping, I eliminate the opportunity for me to make impulse purchases and make it as easy as possible for me to stick to the list of what I actually need. Because if it's in my flat, I will eat it quickly. I take 10,000 steps a day. I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with cardio. If there is one workout in the week that I'm definitely more likely to skip, it's definitely the one where I'm doing cardio. But on the flip side, I know how important it is for maintaining general fitness and melting away that body fat. Therefore, by taking those 10,000 steps, it's such an easy way for me to get out of the house and do some low intensity cardio to burn off some of that fat. My watch will show how many steps I've done throughout the day, and so that number will constantly be staring back at me. Whether I try and knock this out in one session or in several shorter walks throughout the day, I always know how far off that 10,000 step goal I am. It's a very important visual cue. I meditate. This is a practice I've done on and off for a few years, most recently taking the form of me reflecting against certain Japanese philosophies that outline ways in which I would like to live my life. Now, the main benefit I found is through emotional regulation. By approaching this session honestly and reflecting on what's happened throughout the day, I give myself a chance to reflect on those negative emotions and deal with them in the moment, instead of letting these build up throughout the week. Because if they do that, I'm much more likely to rely on advice as a way to deal with them. Sometimes we all need a little push in the right direction, and we don't have someone following us around for the entire day that can give us those pushes as and when we need them. And so by adding in these visual cues, these natural reminders, we increase the chance of us completing those daily habits that are going to push us towards those big goals. So come away from this, have a think about maybe some of the daily habits you don't do as much as you would like to, and then think about how you can change your environment or the tools around you to make it as easy as possible to do them. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time.